With the onset of TikTok and other cringe kind of platforms, I can see why people may judge others for what they put up online, but in our first story, I don't know if I completely agree with how OP goes about calling out their cousin for the cringe and pretentious stuff they're posting on their social media. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn of the Barbie, get ready for some interesting stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my cousin that her social media presence is pretentious and weird? My 32 male, cousin 27 female is a PhD student. Has been for about 4 years now, I think. And honestly, in the time since she's been at college in general, her personality has changed, but even more so with this new school. One of the ways I've seen it is on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. She literally only talks about grad school and academics and theory. This is what she calls it, and to be honest, it's all very confusing to me, and I don't know how to describe it, and just stuff like that. There are barely any updates on her life, and when there are, it's still academic stuff. Think pictures of her and co-workers at conferences, meeting with a theory reading group, department happy hours, etc. So when she's not discussing hardcore academic texts on her social media with other professors and grad students, she's sharing pictures of her at all these academic events. She just recently posted a big thing about how she's excited to present at MLA this year. I couldn't even tell you what that is. Honestly, all us cousins used to be very close, but now all of us really can't relate to her as we're not exactly a family that did college and stuff like that. She's not like that in person at all and just wants to hang out, but her social media tends to be on our minds when we talk to her and it affects things, I think. Anyway, she was at home for a couple weeks this summer and a bunch of us cousins were hanging out having some drinks, and every now and then, if one of us got a bunch of notifications, we'd check our phones. No big deal to any of us as no one was being rude and only on their phone. She got a text and looked at her phone and smiled and laughed a bit. So I said, "Get anything good?" And she said, "Yeah, a friend sent me a really funny meme. Here, I'll pull it up." And I said, "Is it going to be the stuff you're always posting and sharing that none of us will get? Because I don't want to see it if it's that pretentious crap." She said no, but then said never mind, and got all quiet. I asked her what was wrong, and she says, "I didn't realize you think I'm pretentious." And I said, "Well, really it's your social media. You only ever post about stuff barely anyone understands, and you're always talking about your academic life and all these things you go to. It absolutely comes across as pretentious and weird, like you're obsessed with academics, and you think that having a couple of degrees makes you better." Most of the cousins laughed at that, while two said to cool it and to keep that for when it's just the rest of us. She just quietly finished her drink and left for the evening without saying goodbye to anyone. She won't answer my texts now. I feel bad, but I was just teasing her and letting her know that her social media makes her come off as a pretentious asshole. OP, come on man. That was uncalled for. Yeah, it might be on the minds of you guys, but that's not something to let out and publicly embarrass her in front of the entire family like that. This honestly, at surface level, reads like you're insanely jealous of her. Like any normal person that isn't jealous of their cousin just thinks, hey look, she's doing well, she's academically inclined and she's really socially inclined, she's mixing those two together and I'm happy for her. Instead, you choose to just stew on that, and you let it just bubble up inside, and you choose to attack her? For what? Going to college? Being successful? Being socially successful? She's done nothing wrong here. She's done you no wrong. There is no reason that you attack her like this, yet you do. You have some serious insecurities and jealousy when it comes to this. You are the one with the problem. You're the asshole. Now in the comments, Princess of Perky says, "You're the asshole. She actually sounds pretty cool. It also understands like you don't understand what she's studying or talking about, so instead of being a normal caring person and asking her about it, you call her pretentious. A lot of people use social media to talk about their work. It sounds like she's doing well and has a lot going for her, and you sound a bit jealous. I actually encouraged my best friend to get Twitter and use it exactly like this, and she was headhunted for her first and dream job because of it. This, OP, MLA, is the Modern Languages Association, the annual conference where people studying languages, literatures, communications, library studies, and pedagogy go to keep up with their fields and, most importantly, get jobs. Depending on her field and which social media they tend to use, posting about her thoughts and work, especially in the context of MLA, could get her noticed and hired. This is just one example that highlights your ignorance. Regardless of the job market, which is tough for academics, when people go to grad school to study a project, they're doing a deep dive into that subject for a limited amount of time, and are expected to literally become obsessed with their work. I mean, you kind of have to successfully complete a graduate degree, which requires that you research and write a literal book on a topic. Each seminar class you take requires that you research and write a 25-page paper on a topic. Oral exams require that you know everything about a topic area. You have your subject oozing out of your pores. Of course you're going to talk about it on social media. If your cousin was going on and on about a sport that you knew nothing about, I'm guessing you wouldn't have an issue with it, and it wouldn't be pretentious. But because it's an academic discipline, and we live in a country that values anti-intellectualism to the point that it's literally killing us by the hundreds of thousands, or did you think that the pandemic denial and anti-vaxxing were anything other than hysterical anti-intellectualism? Thinking science is a belief or optional in any way is exactly that. It's apparently okay to call people interested in matters of the intellect pretentious. By the way, pretentious, which is related to the word pretend, means something trying to boost their importance by pretending to know or be more than they actually are. Your cousin isn't pretending. She's actually acquiring the knowledge that she's talking about, and busy acquiring the credentials to be an expert in that area of knowledge. She's not pretending, you're just using the word wrong. You're the asshole, bigly. And back to the post, OP posts an update and says, "Well, I'm an asshole, a big one. You all have given me a lot to think about, and you know what? You guys are right. I'm not trying to earn sympathy or anything here, but reading through your comments and seeing other people's perspectives have made me realize I was a real problem here. I have apologized to my cousin, showed her this thread, and we're talking while she's reading through it. We are not 100% okay, and I didn't expect us to be. I hurt her, but we're working on it. Cousin is still deciding whether or not she wants to comment under her Reddit account since so many people were asking about her. She's not sure if she wants to identify herself under her account, which is very similar to her full name." Our next post is by user Foolish Fool, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé to get her insecurities in check and grow up after she humiliated my coworker? Recently, I, 25 male, got engaged to my amazing fiancé, 24 female, Amy. I was the happiest I have ever been when Amy said yes, and was nothing but excited for our wedding. We started planning the venues, the dates, and the invites. When talking about who to invite, we both agreed to invite our co-workers, as we've worked in our respective jobs for years and like them all. As I checked off that list, Amy spoke up and said everyone from my job can come, except my work friend Tally, 26 female. Tally is also one of my close friends, so this surprised me that Amy didn't want to invite her. She has met Tally multiple times, and there didn't seem to be any issues. When I asked why, she said she just doesn't like her and finds our friendship uncomfortable, saying she thinks that Tally is the type of person to try to sway taken men and be the center of attention. After talking some more to see where she got this idea, it turned out this was based on nothing but Tally's looks, as even Amy admitted that Tally is always very kind to her. But still, Amy is adamant about Tally not going and said that she makes her insecure. Amy is a beautiful woman, so I don't know why she feels this way. I told Amy that if it makes her feel comfortable not having Tally at the wedding, then that's fine, but before invitations go out, I wanted to speak to her privately to let her know to save embarrassment. Amy agreed, and that was really that. We didn't speak on the matter after. A week or so later, I went into work and Tally started to ignore me, only really talking if it was work-related. I was confused as it isn't just her. Our co-workers have started to ignore her and acting strange to me. So I contacted her boyfriend, only for him to be sarcastic on the phone. I asked what the problem was when he asked if I actually didn't know what happened. He then filled me in. Turned out, a few days earlier, Amy came to my work on my day off with invitations. I had no idea she even made them yet, and handed everyone an invite in front of Tally, then saying to Tally, "You aren't invited. Women like you aren't welcome." Which has sparked everyone suggesting she is my other woman. Since then, she's been harassed by some guys at work and shunned by the women. She's now looking for another job. This pissed me off and I apologized profusely as I didn't know. When I got home that night, I confronted Amy about this and she denied it at first, but then told me that she did it, but it is now not an issue because she's quitting her job. I flipped on her, saying how she clearly didn't trust me to say it and that she crossed a line doing all of this behind my back. She didn't see the problem and got upset, asking me why I'm so mad. Me responding, "If we are really going to get married, get your insecurities in check and grow up." I've been staying at a friend's place since, but have had texts from Amy, her friends, and her mother saying I was an asshole for this and that Amy doesn't deserve this treatment. Am I the asshole? And edit, I should have explained better 2 things. 1. I have made many attempts to speak to Tally privately to find out what was happening prior to contacting her boyfriend. She brushed me off by saying she either had work to do or that there was nothing to talk about. No one would really speak to me, so I contacted her boyfriend as a last resort. Her boyfriend says he is going to pass on to Tally what I said to him on the phone. And 2, the wedding is currently on hold. That is also why I'm staying at my friend's. I need some distance to figure stuff out. I made the post because of all the texts. Edit 2. Jesus, this blew up, and I must say thank you to everyone for the advice you're giving me. But there is one thing I must clear up. The whole suggestion that I may have cheated on Amy with Tally. All I can ask is, can people of the opposite sex not be friends without anything untoward happening? Nothing has or ever will happen with Tally, no feelings, nothing adult, absolutely nothing. Tally is happy and in love. Her boyfriend is someone I also consider a close friend. I was happy with Amy prior to this, and Tally is more like a sister to me. I find it pretty disturbing that people are even suggesting that I did something with Tally. Ask yourself this. Why in God's green earth would I let and encourage Amy to meet Tally in the first place if anything had happened? That would be messed up beyond belief. Also, I don't work in an office. I have no idea where people are getting this idea from, since I never said where or what industry I work in. I work in a retail chain. Nothing special. And to answer another question, what am I planning to do about Tally? Unfortunately, due to what Amy has done, all I can really do is damage control. Of course, I'm planning to explain to everyone what has happened. I do not want Tally to be going through this. She's a genuinely kind person who does not deserve any of this. I'm actually on my way back to speak to our boss at the moment to see what can be done. Tally's boyfriend is also saying he will speak to her on my behalf and see if he can get her to talk to me. Hopefully, I will have an update by tomorrow. I personally think your girlfriend was just evil in this situation doing that. She was told not to do it, yet she went ahead and was malicious anyway. She points it out as being an issue that she's upset or concerned about, yet instead of letting you go and deal with it, she goes and paints Tally out to be this terrible person who's ruining your marriage. Tally did nothing to deserve that treatment. Tally sounds like an amazing person. I genuinely would question whether I'd want to be with someone like your fiancé had something like this happen to me. I don't blame you for taking all of that time off, and I don't think you're an asshole for telling her that her insecurities and her actions are wrong, and they've led to a lot of damage in this situation. I do think she needs to get her insecurities in check, because she did humiliate your coworker, but at the same time, she also needs to get herself in check, and question whether her actions are that of someone that wants to continue this relationship. Are her values really in line with yours? So yeah, gonna go not the arsehole for this one, OP. Now in the comments, John's other account 7 says, not the arsehole, red flags everywhere. I'd put your wedding on hold, this behavior won't improve. Not the arsehole, all those red flags do not lead to the circus. Amy is a bully, capricious, and jealous woman. I can't imagine doing this at a professional setting. Or ever. Run. Lamau this. Just run. Run, boy, run. Like, she admitted she based this on the girl's looks. What kind of mean girl Lindsay Lohan bullcrap is this? Full stop, just run. Seriously though, she literally admitted to OP that there's nothing wrong with Tally and that this is based off of looks. This isn't even about OP having a work wife, a potential affair, or just Tally being a jerk. It is just about looks. And instead of letting OP talk to Tally and discuss what was happening, Amy went to his job and made her out to be a mistress. Holy immature Batman! This is ridiculous. OP, I'm not going to say make your way out faster than the Roadrunner on steroids, since this needs to be a serious discussion, but with the way she's acting, I'd be seriously questioning if she's ready for marriage. And Punk Rock Cockblock says, your fiancé planned how she would humiliate your friend after she forced you into not inviting her to your wedding. Your fiancé is an insecure, jealous child. Why do you want to marry this person? Not the arsehole. Utterly not the arsehole. She hurt Tally because of her baseless jealousy and made her ostracized and eventually quit her job. She deprived her from working opportunities and made her lose contact with her friends from work. Those are very serious accusations, and she can't go behind your back and ruin people's lives. I'd be worried about what else she's capable of doing and reconsider the wedding. Who knows? Maybe it occurred for a reason, so you'll see this side of her before the wedding and not afterwards. I'd be livid if I were you. This is outright cruel. I also wonder if Amy is the one who's cheating, but she wants to shift the blame on OP so she feels like she's justified. When I was accused of being the other woman by a friend, it turned out to be projection. She was the one cheating. She also became an ex-friend the instant I found out about it. She told my mum. I was in my 40s. Because I don't put up with that crap. Unexposed is by user Gambling Stepson TA. Titled, Am I the asshole for making my girlfriend's son give me his gambling winnings? I, 44 male, have been with my girlfriend, 40 female, for several years now. She has one child, a son who recently turned 18. He and I get along really well, at least for the most part. But recently, he and I had our first blowout fight, and I'm wondering if I was wrong. What happened was that we were returning home from a summer trip. My girlfriend decided that we should stop at a casino near the border of our home state, as she enjoys gambling. Maybe a little too much, but that's a different post. We ended up getting a hotel room at the casino for a night. For a lot of it, my girlfriend's son and I just hung out and watched a CSI marathon, but we eventually ended up joining his mom on the casino floor. I gave the boy $100 and I told him that he should go make me some money. Eventually, I met up with my girlfriend, his mother, and he came up a little later to both of us with a cash waiver for about $1,100. He looked really proud of his earnings. I told him to turn his cash for another $100, but he responded, no, I think I'll keep this. And I answered him, no, you didn't earn that, and took the money and explained that all winnings between us were communal. I gave him another $100. I think that he had no claim to his gambling winnings in the first place, since it came from my money. My girlfriend is actually with me on this, but her son is really mad at me right now. Probably the angriest he has ever been, feeling like I stole his winnings, and it's had me thinking that maybe I'm in the wrong. Ding ding ding, I think you are in the wrong, OP, and I think your feelings are correct here. Just because your girlfriend is enabling your awful behavior doesn't mean that it's correct. You were literally stealing $1,000 off of this kid after I think he gave you the $100 back? Just because it started off from your $100 doesn't mean that it's all your money. You didn't earn that. You're a piece of trash for taking that money off of him because there were no agreements like that made. You were literally just stealing money because it's right there and you can, and he can't really do anything to stop you. That's an abuse of your power. That is not right. That's a good way to lose a relationship with your son of your girlfriend. You are definitely the asshole for this one. Now in the comments, Waves and Mountains says, "You're the asshole. You gave the $100 to the kid with no expectation stated to pay it back. It wasn't a loan. And even if it was, he's a frickin' kid and you should know better. You have no rights to the money that you gave away." I want to know if he actually said, "Go make me more money," when he gave him the $100. In my mind, that's the only thing that possibly makes him not the asshole. If he sets the expectation from the beginning, like he says he did, that it was his money and he was just giving the fun of messing around at the casino, not the money, then against my will, I think I have to argue he is right. Mind you, that's semantics, and he should at the very least split it. Then he's even more of an asshole in my mind if those were his words and he genuinely meant it. You don't go to a casino and employ your girlfriend's kid to make you money. In all likelihood, the kid loses it. Then what? Do you hold it over his head too? OP is just mad they lost money and the son didn't. I don't think asking for the original $100 back is a huge ask, but this whole thing is an asshole move. I agree that it makes him even more of an asshole. Go make me money? Who says something like that? An asshole. You're the asshole. Yeah, it's your money, but he was the one who went out there and made it into more money. He should just give you $100 back and keep the rest. You're the asshole, exactly. At the very most, only the $100 was your money and everything else was his winnings. If a casino gives you $10 bonus to play with, like some casinos will, they can't take your winnings. It's not theirs and it's not everyone's at the casinos either. The same applies to you. You gave it to him. If he lost it, he wasn't going to owe you $100, was he? No. So why does he owe it to you when he won? Our next post is by user CommercialMachine98, titled, "Am I the asshole for greatly increasing my husband's chores and dismissing his complaints after he called me a homemaker?" For some context, I work in my own startup. Husband John works in a movie theater. Before I started my company, we both had a similar income, but now I earn around 5 times as much as him. The chore dynamic at home was always heavily skewed. I'm very neat and like cooking, so I handled the lion's share of chores on top of my job. After the company started growing, John invested himself more in chores because he was staying at home due to the movie theaters being closed. His workplace reopened a few months ago, and he immediately stopped doing most chores. I have been lenient and doing more than my share, since he comes home every day exhausted and complaining. After work, he does nothing but leisure, totally overlooking the fact that I manage our household on top of running my company. I'm kind of a doormat sometimes, so I let it go because I wanted to be kind to John. Last weekend, he crossed a line. I work 7 days a week, John has weekends off, and he was playing video games all day while I was working, and he came to ask me when lunch would be ready. I told him I'm very busy with work and asked him if he can cook for once. He declined, then complained that it was so much easier in his grandfather's time when their homemaker didn't do anything other than her duties. I exploded. We had the biggest screaming match in our lives, with him calling himself the breadwinner of the household, repeatedly hiding behind the claim that he goes out to work, as opposed to me working from home, which means I'm a housewife, duh. I steamrolled his claims by pointing out that I earn much more money than him, I work longer hours, and still do all the chores. I told him to quit his job and dedicate all his time to chores, since he's so enamored with the simpler times of homemakers and breadwinners. And even if he became unemployed, our financial situation wouldn't change. He acted appalled. On Monday, I gave him a list of chores to do. About 2 to 3 hours of chores daily. He constantly complains, and I just reply with, "Quit your job." I spent years doing all the chores on top of my job, but he whines at the prospect of doing just half. Tuesday night, he told me he refused to do the chores and I couldn't force him. I shouted him down into submission, telling him that I spent our entire common life picking up the ball that he keeps dropping, and that his choice to work an unskilled job for pocket change does not preclude him from helping me, the breadwinner, keep this household in shape. Yesterday, I locked up his PS5 in our safe and changed the combination. This is not in my nature. I'm usually polite and soft-spoken, and I feel like an asshole when I see him looking like a sad puppy and whining that he's tired. But I just snapped. I feel like I don't have a choice. If I let John do nothing and consider himself the breadwinner who deserves to come home to a clean house and a warm meal through no effort of his own, I would lock myself into a life of servitude. Am I an asshole? I do wonder why you want to go to so much effort, and is this relationship with him worth it for you if he isn't going to change? I get that times were different, and I think you got married before your startup started coming off of the ground, and your expectations of each other were different. You were happier to take on an unfair share of chores back then. Now that the dynamic has changed, and you require him to take on his fair share now, he is not allowing that. It seems like this isn't working out for you. He's perfectly happy throwing tantrums and trying to keep the status quo, but for you, this seems to be tearing you up inside, and you're lashing out and attacking your partner. To many people from the outside in, rightfully so, a lot of people would say he deserves that. But I don't know if you deserve to be putting yourself through all of this torment. You know your husband better than we do, but how long can this go on? Is it worth staying in this relationship if he's not going to change? How many years are you going to sink into this, and what do you get out of it? What does he provide that others can't? So no, I don't think you're an asshole for greatly increasing your husband's chores and dismissing his complaints after he called you a homemaker, but I think you're being an asshole to yourself in this situation for the way that you're going about this. It seems like the conclusion of all of these actions aren't going to make you or him happy. Now in the comments, "Oh my girl, you are most definitely not the asshole. In fact, don't you dare take even the tiniest step back. Hold your ground as if your life depended on it." And edit, "I would very much like to know the gender of the people who will vote either you're the asshole or everyone sucks here." Jumping in the top comment to say, "Go girl, get him told. Breadwinner is such a cliche as it infers that's the man in the relationship. Well, not anymore. It's the person who earns more and works more. This is no longer a male-dominated position. He either works up or toes the line. My boyfriend acts the same way. Completely dismisses my work just because I work from home. He thinks we rely on his money when he barely contributes anything. I make way more money and even recently got promoted, so now we both get benefits. His job is casual and on a contractual basis, so he sits on his ass most of the year collecting EI and does not get any benefits. Also, is the opposite of breadwinner soup loser? Your husband is a soup loser, OP. Not the asshole. It sounds like you've been picking up his slack for a while. How dare he make claims about you being a homemaker when you're apparently bringing in the majority of the money? Working from home is work. I doubt working at the movie theater is very lucrative. Stop picking up his slack. He's being disrespectful of you, your job, and everything you do for your home. And OP replies, "I know, right? This is exactly the thought that sent me over the metaphorical line. The answer is that since I'm at home all day, and I get to choose all my hours since I'm the boss, while he's at his workplace all day, that's all he considered. The fact I work more hours and earn a lot more money never crossed his mind, I guess. That's also how he'd justify not doing chores to himself. I concluded that after thinking on it a while. He did his part by doing his job, so he expects to come home and do nothing more since he put in his hours. The fact that he had this unspoken belief that I am his housewife, that really grated my nerves like nothing else ever did. Did you know that he was sexist when you married him? He'll get worse if you ever have kids, I hope that the sex is amazing because you're getting screwed, not the asshole. And OP replies, to be honest, it is. I hope at some point you realize that good sex isn't remotely worth sacrificing your self-respect and mental health. Girl, you're dickmatized then. He should be a friend with benefits at best. You need a therapist who will help you address your trauma you mentioned. People are worthy of love at any size. You need to start to like yourself. You sound amazing. You are crushing it with your business. You should not be afraid of being alone. Dating sucks. It's true. I used to dread the idea of wading back into the pool if my husband predeceases me, as I have the same social anxiety issues. And then I realized I was really okay with just being me and by myself. He infantilized himself. You having a backbone does not make you an asshole, not the asshole. And if this story is real, you're honestly just wasting your time with him. You can find someone who bangs you just as well, and if they're a worthwhile partner, then date them too. Good sex isn't worth being disrespected by a lazy misogynist like this. You won't be able to correct his behavior by punishing him like a child. This is only solidifying your role as his mummy instead of his girlfriend. I'm honestly surprised you can still find him attractive enough to have sex when he's so useless in your relationship. He will not step up his act. These are his values. You can't fix or change him. And now back to the post, OP puts, edit. I've been reading through your comments for hours. Sorry if my replies dried up. Today has been emotionally hard. But I promise I read and pondered every thoughtful comment that you shared with me. Thank you. I have come to the conclusion that I was right to stand up for myself when John repeatedly belittled my work and achievements, and I think we all agree that his attitude reeked of machismo. A lot of very kind people have told me I am not the asshole, and thank you. But I'm now convinced I was an asshole as well. For years, I felt like our relationship was somewhat unequal, but I was choosing to overlook the flaws because of a myriad of reasons. I let frustrations and resentment build up and explode. And while I think John acted very poorly in the first place, I overreacted in self-righteous rage. I treated John very poorly in return. Isn't that how wars start? Petty disagreements and skirmishes, mounting anger on both sides until both fighters believe that they are righteous. I had been stewing in anger for days, and that is horribly unhealthy. And that anger is years of bottled feelings spilling up over something not worth that sort of reaction. I will sit John down tonight and have a long talk. I will show him this thread, and we will decide how we want to proceed. The people that we are now are so different from the people we were when we got married and we started dating. Thank you for your input. It has been difficult, but therapeutic to process all this. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.